going to talk today about a principle called time under tension. Now, we can get really technical in your training programs and list the time under tension for every exercise. And I'm going to show you an example and I'm going to attach it below so that you can see what I'm talking about. Sometimes I think it can overcomplicate what we're looking at unless you've been training for a long time and you're really trying to get down to the nitty-gritty of your training routines for very specific outcomes. I think we can all take a step back and just relax about time under tension a little bit. But I want to talk to you about it, let you know what it's all about so that you understand it and you can see where it's useful in terms of how we go about doing our training, how we move, how we control the weight we're lifting and why that's important. So I'm going to pick up some relatively moderate sized weights here. These are 6 kilogram dumbbells and I'm going to do an overhead press. Now I haven't been doing a lot of these exercises for a while I've been letting my arm recover. So this weight is relatively, it's an okay lift for me, but I know that by the time I'll get to 12 and by the time I'll get to my 4th round of doing these exercises, that I'll be feeling this in my shoulders. So I'm doing an overhead press here. This is called a pronated grip, where my palms are facing away from me. And as you can see, I'm not going to say exploding upwards, but I'm pressing upwards more explosively and then I'm controlling the weight on the way down. So I would call this a 0 pause because I'm not pausing here. I'm not going 1, 2, 3. That would be a 3 pause. I'm going up for 1 second and then 3, 2, 1. 0, 1, 0, 3, 2, 1. So the pause at the bottom is 0. The push up is 1 second. The pause at the top is 0 or 1 second. And 3, 2, 1 on the way down. Now, why this is important is we call this the concentric press, and this is the eccentric part of the movement. And what I often see people do is they let gravity pull the weights back down. So it kind of looks like that, and there's very little control. I'm going to put these down for a second. When there's very little control, we're not gaining the benefit from controlling the weight on the way down. In the eccentric part of that movement, we're actually gaining an awful lot of muscle fiber contraction. So I think sometimes people think that, let's do it in a bicep curl, right? People think that the flexion part of the exercise or the concentric part of the exercise is the only part of the exercise where the muscle is working. But if you see the eccentric portion, I'm still flexing that muscle. So if you control the weight on the way down, you're going to continue flexing the muscle. Let's have a look at that again. And I'm still flexing the muscle. Whereas if I lift and then I let the weight drop down, I'm not flexing that muscle, it's relaxing. So this is why during both portions of the exercise, we want to ensure that we're moving with control. We are ensuring that we're thinking about the muscle that we're feeling the movement in. So that's that mind-muscle connection. And that means that I think sometimes a lot of people will do an exercise and they're going, I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to be feeling this. If that's the case, please do reach out and ask the question. If you're not feeling an exercise that has been programmed for you, it could be that you're not lifting the correct weight. You're potentially not moving specifically in the way that you need to move in order to feel the effect appropriately. And oftentimes it's just the tiniest tweak that can help you to feel the exercise more appropriately in the appropriate muscles. If you are feeling an exercise, I think sometimes an exercise like this one, where you know you're lifting the right weight, yeah, I'm feeling it in that muscle there, this is definitely working that muscle. Think about that muscle, feel it on the way down. Equally, as you do on the way up. Time under tension is the amount of time that your muscle is actively working. So if I say, I'm going to do this bicep curl and I'm going to go 1, 1, 1, 1, right? And I'm swinging that arm back down. That's a very different exercise to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the difference is you've got 4 seconds where the exercise or where the muscle group is actively working versus 2. And so you're going to get more bang for your buck for a movement in a specific exercise than if you don't control that muscle or don't control the weight on the way down. I hope that this has explained time under tension for you. The other thing I'm going to say is, in that time under tension phase, we're not actively working the muscle here. This is just gravity holding the weight. And when we're up here, my arm is stacked. So I could kind of stay here all day because I'm not actively holding the weight. It's balanced on my wrist, down through my elbow, which is against my body. So we don't tend to count when we're in that phase, unless, now you can do something called a pause set. So it might be that you might hold the weights, lift them, pause, 2, 3, and then come down. But if we're up here, again, we're stacked, so you're not doing a lot of work. So you might come down into this position, pause, 2, 3, and then explode upwards. Again, that's getting into an area that is a little bit more complex. If we're going to do pause sets, we will speak to you about them individually. Don't worry about them for now. But I hope that explains in some way the concept of time under tension for you and makes it a little bit easier to comprehend why we want you to slow down, control the movements, and not to focus on getting as many reps in as possible with the lightest weight possible.